It's Motivation Monday, a new week. A fresh start and another opportunity to level up. This is your moment to reset your mindset, refocus your energy, and realign with your purpose. Whatever didn't work last week, that's done. Today you move differently, stronger, smarter, more disciplined, because growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pressure and consistency, and showing up when it's hard. No excuses, no distractions, just elevation. The grind starts now, the discipline kicks in today. And the results, that's on you. Every move you make this week is building something bigger. So set the tone today, or spend the rest of the week trying to catch up. Because every Monday is a chance to rewrite your story, to step into a new version of yourself. This isn't just another week. This is your rebirth, Motivation Monday, powered by the Final Boss.
Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast. Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast. I'm back in my sunglasses tonight. The other day, last episode, man, I wore regular glasses, and I would do that every now and again, but it wasn't comfortable. I didn't like it. So let's get back to it. Let's get back to the norms, right? Just trying something different. See how it works. That's what we do. So welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. It's Motivation Mondays, man. It is Motivation Mondays. I missed you guys last couple of nights. So we didn't have a show on Thursday, and we didn't do a show last night, but we are back tonight, man. I have been running on fumes, and it caught up with me. So no excuse there, but we are back. We don't counsel, we divert, and divert was the answer. So here we are, right? Here we are, episode number 64, 264. We are 46 episodes away from episode 300, which is season 5. Season 5, The Harvest, right? Season 5, The Harvest, man. So listen, got a few admin notes that I need to get out the way. And why my chair seem like this? My chair is sinking. I might need to get a new chair. So if you haven't, go get Go Time All Aboard the Fire Up Train. Go pick up Go Time All Aboard the Fire Up Train. It's a bestseller. Go Time 2 is on its way. Go Time 2, it's on its way. Go Time 2, it's on its way. It'll be here in the first week of July. So look out for it, man. Go Time 2 is dropping soon. I'm so excited about that piece, right? I'm super excited about Go Time 2. And you know, man, what can I say, right? I see all you guys here. All of you are here, man. And we got a full house tonight. And one of you, thank you for being here. No matter where you're watching from, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Kick, Spotify, StreamYard, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter, right? That's where we are. You can find us at the Final Boss Podcast out there. Look, if you haven't seen all our episodes, go watch all our episodes. All our episodes right now are streaming on our website at thefinalbosspodcast.com, www.thefinalbosspodcast.com, and you can watch this episode there too. So check that out, right? www.thefinalbosspodcast.com. Also, if you want to get in on the town hall, get in on the town hall. I know we were supposed to have the town hall on Thursday. I do apologize that we were not able to commit to that, man, but we'll do it not this week because we have a guest coming in on this Thursday, but let's do it the following, right? So if you got emails that you want to get to us, you got questions you want to get out to us, man, email us at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com, info @thefinalbosspodcast.com. Can get you onto the town hall. So tonight's show, you know, it's Motivation Monday, man. It's Motivation Monday. What do we do on Motivation Monday? We get on board the Fired Up train, right? And tonight is no different, man. We have a great show for you that is lined up. The Fired Up train, man. We're here 5 days a week, 9 p.m. Eastern time, live. This is a live show, live broadcast, and don't let anybody tell you, don't let anybody out there tell you different. This is live. I show the mistakes. We make them all the time. So, look, this is a live show. This is not pre-recorded. I don't know why people are like, oh man, your show is not live. It's definitely live, right? It is definitely live and not pre-recorded. So, we got the admin notes out the way. Oh, you know what? The number one admin note that I forgot to do and forgot to convey is this. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That is the greeting of the day. And as always, this is for entertainment purposes only, right? Entertainment purposes only. So tonight's show, man. Tonight, hey, Chikati, I know you're here. I see you. We got a full house tonight. I didn't drop you, but I'm letting you know you're out there. I see you. And, you know, I was just telling the folks tonight is episode 264. And tonight's a little different, man. Usually we go into motivation with the concept of discipline, and we intertwine it with our go time principles, right? The 6 pillars of success and different go time 2, go time 3 principles and frameworks. But tonight we're going to pivot, right? Every now and again, I feel necessary to analyze what they're showing us. And what I mean by that is analyzing the movies, right? There are messages in these movies. So we're going to be talking about the Matrix Trilogy tonight. And I'm calling this one the Red Pill Gospel. So stay tuned, man. We're going to break down the Matrix movies as I see them, right? I don't know what anybody else may see them as, but I'm breaking them down. And this is my point of view. This is my opinion. And it's in relation to how I see it as it's parallel to the stories of the Bible, right? More specifically, the New Testament. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. 264, the Red Pill. So let's get ready to get into it, right? So, speaking of the Matrix, look, think about this, right? Think about this. Think about that. They told you the Matrix was a movie about machines. It was, let me tell you, it was never about machines. It was about church. It was about church, right? You didn't know that. Here's the message. And we're going to start that message off with our brass tacks of the evening. And here's our brass tacks, right? Comes from none other than moi. So here's your brass tacks. Every NPC, and we know what NPCs are. We know what NPCs are. NPCs are non-playable characters, right? Non-playable characters. So every non-playable character in this system thinks freedom is the threat. That's how you know the system already won. And that's our brass tacks of the evening. It comes from none other than yours truly. So now we're getting ready to get started, man. We are getting ready to get started. Let's get on board the fired up train. Let's get on board the fired up train. And while we're getting on board the fired up train, I need everybody to sit down into their seats, right? Because, like I said earlier, we're going to pivot. So tonight ain't a normal Motivation Monday, all right? We're building. We're finishing it out. We're closing out Arc 4, the construction, right? Arc 5, the declaration is around the corner, right? And tonight's construction episode is a little heavy. It's going to get a little heavy, right? We're going to be diving into the Matrix, not as a sci-fi flick, but as a gospel parable that Hollywood didn't even know it was writing straight from the book, straight from the good book. Now, think about the characters, right? And stay with me. Think about the characters, all right? Look, this is a judgment-free zone. This is about free thought, right? This is about free thought. So judgment-free zone. So let's talk about it. And we're talking about the movie and the characters, right? So as it is in the movie, if you look at Neo at a close lens, Neo will be Jesus, right? I know a lot of people, oh, you can't say this. Listen, it's not about blast. I'm doing a parallel, right? You're going to learn something before you judge, right? Neo is Jesus. Morpheus, my guy Morpheus, is John the Baptist, right? And Trinity Trinity, Neo's counterpart, his significant other. She's the faith that's walking on two legs, hence the name Trinity, right? And then you have Cypher, right? Cypher is Judas, and we're gonna say Cypher is Judas with a credit card, right? And then you have the our Agent Smith, right? Agent Smith is the accuser standing at the gate of every breakthrough that you've ever tried to make. Every breakthrough, right? And Agent Smith he lives here. He lives here rent free, right? And we're going to be talking about the people who are still plugged in, who are living comfortable, who are calling static peace. And that's every person you know who refuses to wake up. A lot of you know what I'm talking about, right? They're, and they're NPCs. I hate to say it, right? And here's the open loop that I'm going to plant right now in this instant, right? And I ain't closing this statement until, later on down the show, right? Because you have to ask, we're going to start off with this. Why did Cypher beg to go back into the lie, right? A man who saw the real world, a man who tasted the truth, and he asked to be unplugged from reality and plugged back into a simulation, right? Now sit with that, and we're going to get back to it, right? Because tonight we are soon to be closing out the construction, Arc 4, right? And this is about what gets built when the nose stops, or the noise. My sinuses are bothering me. You have to forgive me. When the noise stops and the work starts. And nothing builds a faster man, or a man faster, than the moment he realized the life he's been living might be fake, right? Not fake like conspiracy fake, right? Fake like comfortable. Fake like safe. Fake like the version of you that never asks the hard questions, because hard questions cost you something. And to my smarts, right? I need your brains tonight. Fighter bosses, I need your discipline. Motivators, I need your fire. Warriors, I need your spine, right? Because we're talking about because what we're talking about tonight ain't motivational quotes on a gym wall, right? Or in your bathroom. We're talking about the actual mechanics of waking up inside a system that's designed to keep you asleep, and you call it living, right? Now, Neo, on the other hand, Neo gets offered a choice, right? We're going to be talking about that choice. Blue pill, stay comfortable, forget everything. Wake up tomorrow and believe whatever you want to believe. Red pill, you see the truth, no matter how ugly, no matter how much it costs. And that's not a movie scene, right? That's every single morning of your life, right? You take a pill every single day. The pill is your decision to either look at the truth of where you are, or you keep sleeping in the story you've told yourself your entire life. And this is the rebirth season, right? We don't do surface motivation, right? We don't do that. We don't do any of that fake stuff, right? We do real resurrection work. We do real work. And the resurrection only happens after something really dies, or something real dies, right? And tonight we're killing the comfortable version of you on purpose on air so the real one can stand up. Now stay with me, right? Stay with me, right? We building the whole architecture tonight, right? Character by character, scripture by scripture, until the picture is clear so you can unsee it tomorrow, right? Unsee it tomorrow at work, at home, in the mirror, or wherever you are. So let's get into it. First up, the cost confession, right? We got to do a cost confession, right? And I'm going to give you a real number, not a hypothetical, right? We're talking about 23 years, man. 23 years I stayed plugged into a system that paid me very well, right? It gave me a title, it gave me a pension, it gave me a horizon, right? It gave me comfort. And that Peel was the federal service, right? As a branch chief for Joint Force Headquarters, right? And in that, I built my own blueprint and I stuffed it in a drawer, right? And it was collecting dust. And that's the cost, man. That's the cost of the blue pill, right? It doesn't look like a cost when you're inside it. You're enjoying the spoils. You're enjoying the steak, right? It looks like stability. It looks like a paycheck. It looks like at least I got something, right? Right? And not that mush that they were eating on board the Nebuchadnezzar, right? But the bill comes due eventually, right? It comes, right? The tax man cometh, right? And the bill is your name never showing up on anything that outlives you, right? And I didn't unplug because it was easy. I unplugged because I finally saw the code behind the comfort. I saw the system wasn't built to make me free. It was built to make me functional, right? And functional and free are not the same thing. So a machine is functional. A man is supposed to be free, right? A man is supposed to be free. Stay with me, right? Stay with me. We're gonna catch you on fire tonight, right? And here's the confession part, right? It cost me sleep. It cost me certainty. It cost me the easy answer of I'm just doing my job, and replaced it with the hard question of what was I actually building, right? And who was it actually being built for, right? Neil had the same moment. Before the red pill, he had a job, an apartment, a routine. He was comfortable, functional, and he was very asleep, right? As you see, as the movie opens, he was asleep, right? So Morpheus, or John the Baptist, didn't sell him a dream. He sold him a price tag. And I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it, right? It seems like that is the concept and the principle that's going on in a lot of these movies, man. Let's take it back to Sinners, right? Sinners, you walk into or you walk out of, right? Think about it, right? Think about that movie, man, when they weren't letting those outside individuals in, right? Or if you were in and you had to go outside, then you were with them. So keep that concept, right? That's not customer service or anybody that's knocking on your door, which is really wild. But that's the cost confession of the entire movie. Truth always has a price. Truth has a price, and nobody can pay it for you, right? Nobody can pay it for you. And it's time to get paid, man. It's time to get paid. Look, I paid mine, right? I didn't necessarily walk away. I didn't walk away, right? But without being uncomfortable, I'm here, right? And that costs it costs time, right? And what you're doing right now, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you the comfortable lie you've been calling your life, right? And that's the real cost. And you have to ask yourself, are you willing to pay that? Are you willing to pay? Smarts, I need you to do the math. Or own your own 23 years, right? Whatever that number looks like, right? I need you to do the math. And my warriors, I need you to name the cost out loud tonight for us, right? Drop it in the chat. Even if it's just for yourself, right? Drop it in the chat. Because the confession is the first brick of the construction, always, right? So let's move on. Next destination, the red pill. The red pill. And we're going to talk about the red pill and look at it as the baptism, as you're getting baptized. You know, a lot of us Christians have been baptized, right? And we're going to look at that, right? And let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. Let's get into the architecture, right? Because Neo swallows the red pill that he gets from Morpheus, right? So if Neo is Jesus and Morpheus is John the Baptist, then John the Baptist just baptized Jesus by giving him the red pill, right? But we're talking about Neo, right? And what happens next ain't pretty, right? He doesn't wake up refreshed. He wakes up in a pod covered in fluid, tubes ripped out of his body, and he gets flushed down into dark water before Morpheus can his crew pulls him out, right? You know how you get baptized? You go under the water, and a lot of times it's in a river or wherever it is. It may not be clean water, but you come out clean or refreshed, right? And anew. So when Morpheus pulls him out, he's gasping for air, I should say. And that's the first time in his life that he actually is breathing real air, right? And that's a wild visual, right? But that's a baptism, right? That's not death of the old man and birth of the new. We're talking about water and all, right? Scripture says, buried with him in baptism, raised to walk in newness of life, right? Neo gets buried in the machine's water, ripped from the falsehood of the false world, and raised into a body that has to relearn how to even use muscles and have atrophying that's been building up his whole life, right? And here's the part that most people skip, right? Because after baptism, Neo was weak. His eyes hurt from light he's never seen. His muscles don't work, right? Because he's never used his real ones, right? Only simulated ones. Now, waking up to the truth doesn't make you strong instantly. It makes you weak first, right? Because you're finally using muscles that the lie never required. And I remember, man, when I first woke up from the lie, I wasn't necessarily depressed, but I was in a dark space. I didn't want to believe what I finally found out, right? I didn't want to believe. It was crazy. The false reality into the new reality, right? It does something to you, right? And that's why so many people stay asleep. Man, so many people stay asleep because they don't want to realize it, right? Not because the truth is impossible to find, because the truth requires you to be weak and uncomfortable before you get strong and capable, right? The blue pill keeps you artificially strong inside the fake world. The red pill makes you actually strong, but only after a season of feeling like you don't even know how to walk, right? Listen, this is construction art all the way through, right? You didn't get the muscles that you have without the mess, right? You don't get the capability without the collapse first. Every person in this community who's building something right now, you're in the pod water, right? You're gasping for air. Your eyes hurt from light you've never let in before, right? So good. We got that established, right? That means you took the pill. That means you're not fake awake anymore, right? You're actually awake, and the wake is expensive before it gets powerful, right? So, my motivators, hear me out, right? Stop expecting strength on day one of truth. Neo didn't fly or start flying on day one. He didn't start flying until after the whole movie was over, right? He could barely stand, right? Final boss is the gasping is a part of the resurrection, not a sign you did it wrong, right? You did it right. That's what real baptism into truth looks like. It looks like drowning before it looks like flying, right? So we got that established. Let's move on to the next destination, right? Next destination of the fired up train, we're going to talk about Morpheus. So Morpheus, right? Morpheus never once claimed to be the one. He didn't, right? Go back and watch it. He says it plainly. I believe that there is another who will lead us out of the darkness, right? He said he was not the answer. He's the announcement. He's the John the Baptist, right? Crying out in the wilderness, there is one coming after me who is mightier than I, right? And John the Baptist baptized in water, but pointed past himself to the one who would baptize with fire, right? Morpheus pulled Neo out of the pod, but pointed past himself to the prophecy of the one who would end the war, right? Same role, same humility required to play it, right? But the Forerunner's whole job is to prepare the way and then step back when the real thing arrives, right? And what it looks like costs Morpheus, right? He gets captured, he gets tortured, right? The machines try to extract the access codes to Zion straight out of his mind, and he endures, right? Because his conviction about who Neo is matters more than his comfort on survival. John the Baptist got his head served on a platter for telling the truth to a king who didn't want to hear it. Morpheus gets strapped to a chair. You remember the scene. He's interrogated, right? And for telling the truth about a prophecy the system wanted to erase, right? And this is what construction for the construction arc for the construction. And this is the part nobody talks about, right? Because somebody has to go first and pay the price of preparation before the breakthrough arrives. Somebody has to take the hit so the next generation doesn't have to take the exact hit, right? And that's not a side note, people. That's not a sidekick role. That's a sacred role, right? And I want my smarts to catch this, right? You don't have to be the main character to be essential to the story. Morpheus never throws the final punch that saves the world. But without Morpheus, there is no Neo, right? There is no Neo who knows what he is, right? Without the Forerunner, the one never wakes up to his own identity, right? And some of you are listening right now know you guys are Morpheus in somebody else's story, right? Think about it. You may not be the headline, but you're the preparation. You're the one who finds the kid in the family, in the team, in the company, and tells them, you're more than what this system told you that you are. That role will cost you, right? That might come for you the way they came for Morpheus. They might come for you the way they came for John the Baptist, right? Warriors, listen. Take the hit. Take the hit, right? Forerunner's pain is what makes the one's arrival possible. Construction art closes with builders, and builders take damage that the finished structure has to feel, right? So let's move on. Next destination. We're going to talk about Cypher. Cypher, the Judas. And we're going to be discussing the Judas protocol, right? So now we get to the ugly part. Let's get to the ugly part, man. Let's talk about Cypher, right? His real name was Reagan. Hilarious, right? Which is its own kind of detail. But stay with the role, right? Because Cypher knew the truth. He's seen the real world. He'd been unplugged for 9 years, and he made a deal with Agent Smith to betray the entire crew. He was going to sell out Morpheus, right? He was going to sell out Neo, right? And he was going to sell out Zion itself, right? In exchange for being plugged back in, wiped of memory, and given a comfortable, important fake life inside the simulation, right? And that's Judas. That is Judas in real time, right? That is Judas in real time. Man. Hold on, guys. Word for word, roll for roll, right? Judas walked with Christ. He saw the miracles firsthand. He heard the truth directly from the source and still sold it for 30 pieces of silver because the cost carrying the truth got heavier than the comfort he wanted back, right? And here's the line of the movie that should haunt every single person right now that's on, right? And listening or who's in the chat, right? Cypher says this, right? He says this one statement. It's 3 words, very simple. Ignorance is bliss. He wanted to lie back. Specifically, because the lie required nothing from him. No responsibility, no sacrifice, no carrying weight for other people. Just a steak that tastes amazing, right? He got tired of eating mush because his brain is told it's amazing in a world where nothing he does actually matters, right? And here's the good part. That, my friends, is Judas protocol, right? It activates anytime the weight of the truth outweighs the comfort of the role you're playing in service of it, right? It doesn't usually look dramatic. It looks like quitting quietly. It looks like going back to the old crowd because the new path got too heavy. It looks like betraying the vision you committed to because somebody offered you a comfortable lie wrapped up as reward, right? And to my smarts, listen, knowledge without conviction is just a loaded weapon pointed at your own mission. Cypher had all the knowledge Neo had. He saw the same code. The difference wasn't information. The difference was commitment under pressure. Information never saved anybody. Commitment under pressure is the entire test. It's the entire reason, right? And I need you to check your own crew for the ciphers that are laying down with you, right? You got ciphers in you with you. There's ciphers among us, right? There's Judas among us, right? And I need you to check yourself first, right? Make sure that you're not Judas or Cypher. You're running the Judas protocol because there is a part of you that's negotiating quietly in the dark for a comfortable simulation instead of the heavy responsibility of the real mission you said you were called to, right? Judas didn't announce himself at the table. He smiled at the same supper everybody else was sitting at, right? Cypher smiled at the same crew dinner scene with the steak, right? Warriors, the betrayal always comes from proximity, not distance. Watch who's closer before you watch who's loudest, right? So, next destination, we're going to talk about the NPC trap, right? We're going to talk about the non-playable characters trap because it is a trap. It's a trap. But before we get into it, man, let's talk about the pods, right? Let's talk about the pods that you saw, right? Rows and rows of human beings plugged in, asleep and content, living entire lifetimes inside a simulation built specifically to keep them docile while their bodies get harvested from energy. They don't know they're a power source. They don't know they're a battery. You don't know you're a battery, right? You don't even know, right? And they're thinking that they were living a normal life, just like you, right? Living a normal life, having a normal job, enjoying your normal family, drinking your morning coffee, but none of it was real. All of it was believed, right? It's like this coffee I'm drinking right now, which is, I believe, is so delicious, right? It may be disgusting, but my brain says it is because that's what my brain says. So because that's what my brain says, it's believed. And brains can be trained. Brains can be trained, baby. That's the whole message. Brains can be trained, right? Just like I believe this coffee is delicious. This coffee may not be delicious, but my brain believes this is delicious because my brain was trained that coffee is delicious, right? It may not be, but that's the whole message, right? That's every person who refuses to wake up. That's what they see. That's what they think, right? And I want to be precise about why they refuse, right? It's not because they can't see the truth. Morpheus tells Neo straight up, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged, just like you ain't ready to be unplugged, right? And many of them are so inured, right? So helplessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. I mean, fight to the death, right? Fight for their cause, fight for their beliefs, fight what they believe, right? While those who sit back and witness, like, hey, this isn't right. And in your core, you know it's not, but because it's your belief, is what you believe in, and you're tied to that belief, you're gonna die with that, right? Listen, they're gonna fight to protect it, right? The thing that's using them, sounds familiar, right? We see a lot of that today. That's the part that should stop you cold, right? It should. The sleeper doesn't just ignore the truth. The sleeper would defend the lie with violence. And if you threaten it, if you threaten to wake them up, listen, it's funny how they were throwing around words of woke and wokeness. literally wokeness means to not be asleep, right? Right? But they demonize that, man. And people fought. I'm sorry. It's crazy. It's crazy work, right? And look, they fought and still fight to stay asleep, right? And that's why Agent Smith doesn't have to recruit. He doesn't have to recruit. The system recruits itself through the very people it's feeding on, right? I told you I was going to be on fire tonight, man. I'm going to be on fire, right? And you don't believe me? Look, let's go into scripture, right? Because scripture says it plainly, right? Eyes that see not. I'm going to say that again. The scripture, eyes that see not, ears that hear not. Not because the information isn't available, because the will to receive has been traded away for comfort, for routine, for dependable rhythm of a life that asks nothing real of you, right? And I see this every single day. We see it in our own communities, right? We see it in our own communities. Before people commit to the work, they got eyes. They watch every motivational video that I post, right? They hear every word of this very show, and they go right back to the pod the next morning because the pod is warm and the real world requires muscles they haven't built yet. Now, and that's a true story. I know some people like that. It's in my community. I know they enjoy the show. They listen. They read the book. But guess what? They ain't ready to be uncomfortable. They go back to that pod, man, smiling and enjoying the steak, right? Motivators, your job is not to drag people out of the pod, right? Don't do it by force. That's not your job. You can't, right? Morpheus tried that math and they rejected it on purpose, right? Your job is to be Morpheus. Find the door and let the person walk through it themselves. Forced awakening doesn't take place. Chosen awakening does, right? And final bosses, I need you to check your own life. Check your own life for pods that are still plugged in, right? Maybe it's a job that drains you, that pays you, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a relationship that's comfortable but dead. Maybe it's a version of your own potential that you put to sleep because using it feels like too much responsibility for you to have too little of a reward at the time, right? The non-playable character trap isn't stupidity. It's the rational choice to stay comfortable when somebody's shown you that the alternative is survivable. Tonight, I'm showing you it is survivable, right? We lived it. I've lived it, right? I was plugged in 23 years, but I'm still standing. I'm stronger than I've ever been. Trust me on that, right? Trust me when I tell you I'm stronger than I've ever been. That level of comfort was making me weak. And here I am, right? And I am here. Right? Let's get on board the fire the train, man, for the next destination. We're going to talk about the very thing we talked about, man, the uncomfortable verdict, right? Here's the verdict for tonight. And look, you know, the verdict is never soft, right? It's never soft. And most of you don't actually want the truth. You want the truth to fit inside the lie you've already built your life on, right? You want to feel awakened without having to actually get unplugged. You want the language of transformation without the cost of transformation, right? That's not an insult. That's a diagnosis, right? And the diagnosis is the first step of any real treatment, right? Because Cypher wanted truth as long as it came with the steak and it tasted real. He probably had a milkshake with that steak, right? The sleepers want truth as long as it doesn't disturb the simulation they've built their entire identity around, right? And plenty of you listening right now, you want truth as long as it doesn't require you to confront the actual costs I confessed early on, right? And here's the undeniable, shareable thing that you may want to write this down, right? write this down, right? Or drop it in the chat, man. Drop it in the chat, right? I see you guys. Drop it in the chat, right? The system listen. The system never has to lie to you once you've already convinced yourself the lie is comfortable enough to defend. Write it down. The system, write it down. The system never has to lie to you once you've convinced yourself the lie is comfortable enough to defend. All right. And that's the machine. That's the entire machine, the whole machine. And that's how the Matrix runs into a single guard standing over every pod. That's how Rome ran with a soldier in every household. The lie doesn't need enforcement once the person inside it agrees to police themselves. Right? Look, the things I'm building right now, the sovereignty stack, I'm building it because I got tired of watching brilliant people defend their own pod, right? What I'm building is bigger than me, it's bigger than family, it's for humanity, right? I watch smarts with genius level capability talk themselves out of building anything because the simulation of maybe next year felt safer than the resurrection of right now, right? The comfortable verdict closes with this statement, right? Pay attention. You and I get the breakthrough you keep praying for while you keep defending the very system that's keeping you asleep. Right? You're a slave to what it provides. The money, the comfort. Right? You're a slave to it. Right? That's what keeps you asleep, keeps you docile, keeps you dormant. Right? You're too afraid of not having. Too afraid of not having. Neo had to stop defending his old apartment, his old job, his old name, before he could even become anything else. You don't get to keep the old identity and the new power at the same time. You need to pick one, right? Warriors, I need you to sit in this discomfort, and I need you to sit into this discomfort tonight, all right? The discomfort is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's loosening the grip the pod has on you. Let it loosen. Don't numb it with a podcast clip and move on with your day unchanged. Let the verdict land. Let it hit. Reason with it, right? Let it be and do what it's supposed to do, right? Now let's move on. Let's talk about Trinity. Next destination, we're going to talk about Trinity, right? We're going to talk about Trinity. I remember Trinity's Neo. Trinity was Neo's boo thing, right? Trinity believed Neo was the one before Neo believed it about himself. The Oracle told her she had fallen in love with the one. And when she meets Neo, she carries that conviction like a weapon long before there's even a single piece of proof. She already knew. Not by blind faith, but informed faith, right? Faith built on a prophecy she trusted more than her own eyes in any of those moments. That's the difference between faith and wishful thinking, right? A lot of you are wishful thinkers. You have no faith. I'm telling you in your face, you don't have faith. You have wishful thinking, right? And the community needs to understand this distinction tonight, right? Because wishful thinking hopes something is true because it feels good, right? Faith commits to something being true and acts on that commitment before the evidence catches up. Trinity didn't wait for Neo to fly before she believed he could fly. She acted like it was already true, and her belief became part of the architecture that made it true, right? Now, look at that moment. Look what I just did, man. Look at that. I told you I was going to be on fire. I told you, right? Look at that moment. Neo actually dies in the second movie. He was shot. No, that was at the end of the first movie. I'm sorry. He was shot, right? He was shot. There was no post, right? No post. He ran flat. He flatlined, right? And Trinity is the one who speaks life back into him, right? As he laid there in the real world. And she said, you can't be dead. You can't, because I love you. And look, that's not a romantic line. It was the truth, right? And the resurrection was declared. It was a resurrection declaration, right? Faith spoken directly over a dead body, and Neo's heart starts to pump again. And look, that's not Hollywood magic. That's the exact mechanism of every resurrection account in scripture, right? Faith spoken by someone who refuses to accept the verdict of death as final. Martha and Mary, tongue twist, right? Martha and Mary at Lazarus' tomb. The centurion's faithful his servant. Faith doesn't wait for permission from the circumstances. Faith speaks first, and the circumstances catch up, right? Warriors, I need you to be Trinity for somebody in your circle this week, right? Somebody around you is flatlined right now, dead on the re-out, no posts on their dream, no evidence of life in the vision they used to carry. Your job is not to wait for proof before you believe in them again. Your job is to speak life over the dead thing before the proof shows up, because your belief is part of what brings the truth, right? Smart. Don't confuse this with naivete, right? Trinity trained. She fought. She flew planes. She hacked systems. Faith without competence is a fantasy. Faith with competence is a weapon. Build the skill and carry the conviction. The combination is what raised Neo off the floor, right? So let's move on. Let's move on and get on board the fired up train. Next up, we're going to be talking about the elusive Agent Smith. Agent Smith, the accuser, right? Agent Smith. Because Agent Smith is not just a villain. Agent Smith is a function. He's the enforcement arm of the system, sent specifically to police anyone who threatens to wake up or help others wake up. He doesn't create the lie, he defends it. He's the accuser. The same role Satan is playing in the book of Job. Standing before the throne, accusing, prosecuting, trying to prove the awakened man will break under pressure, right? And here's what's chilling about Agent Smith, right? And if you go back and watch it closely, here's what's chilling about him, right? He hates being inside the system as much as he hates Neo for threatening it, right? He tells Morpheus directly that he's disgusted by humanity, by the smell of it, by the inefficiency of it, right? Smith isn't loyal to the Matrix out of love. Smith is loyal to the Matrix out of contempt for everything inside of it, right? The accuser always despises the very thing it's been assigned to guard. That sounds like Satan, right? Disgusted with God, pissed off he's in hell. Listen, man, I'm on fire tonight, baby. Let's go, right? And that's important. Those statements I just made, that's important, because some of you are dealing with the Agent Smith in your own life right now, and you keep expecting them to eventually be reasonable. It's not going to happen. They won't be reasonable. The accuser's job isn't reasonability, right? The accuser's job is enforcement. Every time you grow, every time you wake somebody else up, wake somebody else up, every time you threaten the uncomfortable lie around you, expect a Smith to show up in the form of a coworker, a family member, an old friend, even a voice that may be sitting in your head rent free. Smith multiplies too, right? He multiplies. And by the third movie, he's not one agent anymore, right? He's hundreds of thousands of clones of himself, infecting other people, turning them into copies of his accusation. That's exactly how gossip and discouragement spread in a family, in a team, in a community. All it takes is one. One accuser convinces a second person to start repeating the same accusation. And now you've got an army of Smiths all wearing different faces but running the same script, right? Here's how you beat an accuser. Neo doesn't out-argue Smith. He doesn't try to convince Smith he's wrong. In the final fight, Neo simply chooses to stop fighting the system on its own terms and lets himself merge into the source, ending the war through surrender into purpose rather than escalation into more conflict, right? Sometimes the answer to the accusing voice isn't a louder argument. It's a deeper commitment to the mission that makes the accusation irrelevant, right? You take the power away, what do they have, right? Warriors, don't waste your strength trying to make the accuser like you. Waste no energy in that, right? Spend your strength building the thing the accuser was sent to stop, right? Now, let's move on. Let's move on, man. Let's move on. We on fire. We on fire. Next station, next drop, right? We're going to be talking about the architect, right? The architect versus the architect. We're going to be talking about the architects, right? Now, here's where we get into the spiritual manifestation. This is the real 3D upgrade, right? Because the architect in the second movie is cold, calculating designer of the Matrix itself, the false creator who built the entire system of control and dressed it up as paradise. He speaks in pure logic, no warmth, no relationship, just probability and design specifications. He built a comfortable cage and called it civilization, right? That's the counterfeit God, right? The architect of the Matrix offers order without relationship, comfort without freedom, design without love. And here's that part that should stop you in everything you do, even in the seat you're sitting in, right? The architect's entire system depends on humans choosing it, right? He tells Neo the 99% of the people accept the program without even questioning it. As long as they're given a choice, they don't fully understand that they're making. That's the false god of every comfortable system you've ever been plugged into. It doesn't force you to stay. It just makes leaving feel irrational. It dresses up control as stability, and it lets you sign the contract believing you're choosing freedom, right? Now compare that to the real architecture, the real creator, where scripture lives, right? Because scripture doesn't describe a God who builds you a comfortable cage. It describes a God who breathes life into dust and gives dominion, real authority, real choice, real consequence, real relationship, real responsibilities, right? Not a probability engine managing your compliance. A father building sons and daughters who can actually create, right? And this is the upgrade from 2D to 3D I've been talking about all season. And listen, Chikandi, this is for you, right? The architect's version of you is flat. It's predictable, right? A variable in an equation, managed, optimized, contained. The real creator's version of you has depth, has spirit, has the actual capacity to manifest something new in the world instead of just running a program someone else wrote for you. Smarts, this is doctoral level insight wrapped in street language, and every false system you ever served had an architect, and every architect needed you compliant more than it needed you capable. The real upgrade isn't compliance, it's capability matched with spirit. That's spiritual manifestation, not floating candles and vibes, right? Nothing against that, but that's not what it is, right? The literal collusion of who you really are in spirit with what you actually build in the physical world, right? Motivators, stop optimizing for the architect's version of peace. Start building for the creator's version of dominion, right? Stop building the creator's version of dominion. So, That was one part of the architect. Let's talk about the other part, right? Let's talk about the other part, the death and the resurrection of Neo, right? Because Neo dies twice, right? And both deaths matter for where we're and what we're building tonight, right? The first death, he got shot in the chest, flatline, brought back by Trinity spoken faith, right? Second death, right? He willingly walks into the machine city and lets himself be drained, sacrificed his own physical body at the end of the war between humans and machines for good. The first death is a personal resurrection. The second death is a sacrificial resurrection, right? The first teaches you that you can come back from what looked like the end of your story. The second teaches you that sometimes your resurrection isn't just for you. It's the mechanism that frees everybody else also, right? Now watch what happens after the first death, right? Neo doesn't come back the same. He comes back seeing the code directly, stopping bullets with his hand, perceiving the matrix as raw structure instead of the surface appearance. That's not resuscitation. Resuscitation gets you back to where you were. Resurrection gets you somewhere you've never been, right? Scripture is clear that the resurrected body isn't the same as the body that died. It's upgraded, it's glorified, it operates on different rules, right? Listen, this is go time tier, man. Go time tier 1, and I need y'all to hear me out, right? Who you be? Who you be? Because the resurrection always changes identity before it changes capability, right? Neo doesn't become powerful and then become different. He becomes different, and the power flows to new identity. Same with you, right? You don't wait until the powerful to change who you are. You change who you are first. You die to the old name, and the capability catches up with the new one, right? Closing out Arc 4 to construction means some of you have to accept that the version of you who started this season is dead. Not metaphorically, but metaphorically comfortable dead, right? Actually dead, right? The blueprint that worked for you who used to be doesn't fit who you've become through this whole construction process, right? Right, the bosses, stop trying to resuscitate the old version of your business, your relationship, your identity. Let it die completely and let the resurrected version operate on new rules. Because trying to revive an old identity inside a new built one for a new one is how you end up exhausted chasing a ghost, right? Warriors, the second death matters too, right? Sometimes you sacrifice, or sometimes your sacrifice isn't about your comeback. It's about somebody else's freedom, right? Be willing to do that also, right? So let's move on, right? We on fire tonight. Next destination. I'm gonna go over about 10 minutes, man. Stay with me, right? Next destination. Let's talk about Kung Fu, right? Let's talk about Kung Fu and those skill sets that Neo were able to download, right? Because early on in the first movie, and this is something that everybody quotes, but nobody actually studies, right? Neo gets plugged into a training program. Y'all remember the training program? He wakes up seconds later, right? And says 4 words that changed pop culture forever. He says, I know Kung Fu, right? And instantly downloaded, instantly available. No years of dojo training required. No Shaolin training. No Wu-Tang, right? No Wu-Tang. But watch what Morpheus says right after that. He doesn't celebrate the download. He says, show me. Show me what you believe you know, right? And steps into the mat until actually they start fighting, right? Because knowledge downloaded into your head and capability proven under live pressure are 2 completely different things, 2 completely different categories, right? And the movie makes you watch Neo get put through a real combat scene before that download even means anything, right? And we all believed it, right? This is exactly where construction art closes, right? A lot of you have spent the last several weeks downloading. You've read the books, you've watched the content, you've absorb the frameworks, you've got the language right. And you say, I know Kung Fu with confidence and casual conversation. And that's good. That's good, right? That's the download phase because, and that's necessary, right? But Arc 4 doesn't close on a download. It closes on demonstration. Morpheus steps on the mat because information never been pressure tested, right? Information never pressure tested is just trivia with good marketing. The whole reason construction exists as an arc before declaration is to force the download to become demonstrated capability before you ever stand up and declare anything to the world, right? Heavy lifting tonight means exactly that. The literal weight of turning what you downloaded into what you can actually execute under live conditions. With somebody watching, with stakes attached, with no simulation safety net, right? Smarts, you've earned the right to say you know the framework. Now Morpheus is asking you to show him. That's not an insult. That's the next required step. And it's the entire reason that this art is called the construction and not information, right? Right, bosses? The gap between knowing Kung Fu and fighting Morpheus on the mat is the same gap between knowing your business plan and actually closing the deal. Between knowing the workout and actually doing the rep. Between knowing the marriage advice and actually showing up differently at home, right? We're going to close this arc by stepping on the mat, not by quoting the download one more time, right? 10 minutes, man, 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes, all right? Next destination, the leap of faith, right? Because there's a scene that gets overlooked because the Kung Fu fights gets all the attention, right? But I paid attention, right? And this one matters more tonight, right? And you're going to see it differently when you go back and watch the Matrix. And I know you guys are going to go back and watch it. That's what we do, right? Morpheus stands on top of a rooftop, and across from him is a massive gap between two buildings. And tells Neo the mind makes it real. Then takes off running and jumps the gap himself and lands. And he doesn't tell Neo to jump and watch from safety. He jumps first in front of Neo to prove it is survivable, right? Neo tries it right after, but he doesn't make it. He falls, and he falls hard. And the crew has to pull him out of the simulation, right? Injured, embarrassed, doubting everything Morpheus told him about who he might be. That failure matters as much as the jump itself because the movie refuses to pretend the leap of faith always lands clean on the first attempt. Here's the construction principle hiding inside of that scene. Because somebody has to go first in front of witnesses, risking real failure before the people watching will believe the leap is possible for them to do so also, right? That's the entire role of leadership inside of a community trying to build something real. Listen, I left the DMV. I'm in Georgia now. I did that by a leap of faith, right? You don't get to demand faith from your team, your family, your following, while you yourself have never jumped in front of them, right? I jumped, man. I jumped my own gap, and I've done it on many occasions. I did it after the stability of the military and the stability of the federal government. I stood on the rooftop and ran off the edge with no guarantee to landing, right? No pension waiting on the other side. Nothing but conviction that my mind makes it real. And the only way to prove it was to actually go. I didn't land clean either, right? But get this. There's been falls. It's always falls, right? And there's been fails, right? There's been simulations where the crew had to pull me out injured and doubting. Final bosses, your team is watching to see if you will jump before they ever consider jumping themselves. Warriors, your kids are watching to see if you will jump before they ever believe their own gap is survivable. The leap of faith isn't about certainty. It's about somebody going first so the tribe believes the gap has a bottom worth surviving and a landing worth reaching. Closing construction arc means it is your turn on the rooftop tonight. Stop measuring the gap and go run and make the jump, right? Next destination. Let's go. We're closing out, right? The next destination, We're going to solve the open loop that we discussed in the beginning, right? And in the beginning, we talked about why did Cypher beg to go back into the lie? You've heard the whole architecture, right? Neo as the resurrected one, Morpheus as the forerunner who paid first, Trinity as the faith that speaks life over the dead, right? Smith as the accuser defending a cage he secretly despises. The architect as the false god ordering and offering you things without freedom. Now the answer to Cypher lands differently. And here it is, right? Because Cypher begged to go back because truth demands responsibility and the lie demands nothing. Inside the simulation, his actions had no real weight, no real world inside of a real world, right? Every choice mattered. Every risk was permanent. Every failure had actual teeth. He wasn't running from danger. People die in a simulation too if their mind believes it. He was running from the weight of meaning itself. And that's the real trap underneath every NPC, every Smith, every comfortable pod in your own life. It's not that the truth is too hard to find. It's that the responsibility is too heavy to carry once you found it, right? The blue pill isn't comfort. The blue pill is the permission to stop being accountable for the life you're actually living, right? Closing out Arc 4 construction means you cannot unsee this anymore. You know that staying plugged in isn't safety. It's surrender. You know that every Judas I'm sorry. Hold on. You know that every Judas moment in your life starts with the weight of conviction getting heavier than the comfort of the role. You know the resurrection requires an actual death first. That faith has to be spoken before the proof arrives. That the leap only gets believable once somebody jumps first. Smarts. The open loop closes with a responsibility, not a feeling. You know the care. You know how to carry the knowledge of what Cypher chose and why. That's what makes you accountable for not making the same trade, right? Motivators, you can't say you didn't know anymore. Tonight, we removed that, and we removed it permanently, right? That excuse is out of here. It's gone, right? Warriors and final bosses, the heavy lifting promise this, right? We promised this at the beginning, right? And it was never about in a movie analysis, as you can see. It was about you sitting with the weight of your own Cypher moment, your own Smith accuser, your own rooftop gap, and choosing right here tonight which character you're actually playing in your own story going forward. Right now, as we close, told you I only needed 10 minutes. As we close, right? As we begin to close out Arc 4, let's get on the fire train, right? As we close Arc 4, all right, or close out, right? We're going to close out with a commission, not a wrap up, right? And here's the charge for each pillar of this community. I'm going to name it, right? Because construction doesn't end with a recap. It ends with marching orders, right? Smarts, your charge is discernment. You know the difference between Morpheus' preparation and Cypher's betrayal, between Smith's accusation and the architect's false order. Use the discernment this week to identify exactly which role you've been playing in your own life and make a course correction before Arc 5 declaration opens, right? Final bosses, your charge is demonstration. Stop saying I know Kung Fu and step onto the mat. Prove it. Whatever download you've been sitting on, the business plan, the manuscript, the program, the relationship conversation you've been avoiding, this week you fight it out and you fight it live. No simulation, no rehearsal, right? Motivators, your charge is resurrection language. Stop speaking death over dead dreams in your circle. Jesus. Right? Energy is way too high, man. Beat Trinity this week. Speak life over the flatline version of somebody who's given up. Watch what happens when faith gets spoken before proof arrives, right? Warriors, your charge is the rooftop. Somebody in your world is waiting to see if you will jump before they believe the gap is survivable. This week, you go first. Not someday, but this week, right? Construction arc is about to close. This is episode number 264, right? The night we pulled the red pill out of Hollywood script and put it where it belongs, right? In the gospel. Neo as the resurrected one, Morpheus as the forerunner who paid first, Trinity as faith with proof attached, Cypher as the warning every one of us needs to hear before we sell out our own truth back for a comfortable stake that isn't even real, right? Arc 5 declaration is coming up next week, I believe. What you built in construction either holds weight now or it doesn't. And you're about to find out which. This has been Motivation Mondays, Final Boss Podcast. I am the Final Boss, and you already know what time it is, right? We're here each and every last single Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That is our show for tonight. Stay awake, stay built. And before we go, right? If you don't see me, good morning, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That is our show, ladies and gentlemen. This has been episode number 264, the Red Pill, Final Boss, Season 4, the Rebirth, Arc 4, the Construction, as we are leaving Arc 4, the Construction, going into Arc 5, the Declaration. And as always, there's a heavy pain that comes with discipline, but there's an even heavier pain that comes with regret. I am here. We are here. And as always, be balanced, be equal, and be smart. That's our show for tonight, man. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. I'll see you tomorrow night for Tech Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. See you soon.
They thought it was over. They thought the fire burned out. But fire doesn't destroy the chosen. It forges them. Hosted by Turbo, the CEO. New energy, new strategy. Every setback builds strength. Every loss builds strategy. And every leader rises again. The rebirth begins. Season 4. Bigger conversations. Real strategy. Power moves only. Monday motivation. Tech Tuesday. Merger Wednesday. Special guest Thursdays, sit-down Sundays. Season 4 starts now. Tap in or get left behind. Because bosses don't wait, they lead.